After 3 weeks of silence, EA has finally remembered that their Ask campaign is actually a thing and have answered 31 individual questions, which in fairness is pretty impressive. Although, as we've learned over the past 2 years of this actually being a thing, they don't always respond to what most people would consider the most important questions. But we'll point out those individually when we come to them. Starting off with an in-the-middle question, at least in my opinion, the Solar Bears do share an arena with the Orlando Magic, and that said arena has appeared in the NBA Live games in the past, but really, who expected them to have proper arenas for ECHL teams, even if it's a major arena? I mean, the same argument could be made for the Quicken Loans Arena or Quicken Loans Center, the Q, home of the Calder Cup champion Lake Erie Monsters of the AHL, yet you don't see that in the game either. This response honestly kind of pisses me off. There's a difference between in-game animations, as Connor was referring to, and cutscenes that the moments will provide, as Ben Ross responded with. Now, he does mention actual animations with the net battles and goalie improvements, but why answer this question if we're not going to be overly specific? The only response to Connor's question is nope, which in fairness you did say, but then you plug the other features that we've already known about that have nothing to do with the original question. Now, these are big upgrades. As far as collections go, obviously sites like NHL Guides never would have been a thing, or at least not as popular, if that had been a feature already. And about the quick jump to the auction house, all I can say is thank God. I've said it every time I've talked about Ultimate Team, the closer you get to FIFA's menu system, the better. For me personally, I really have no desire to play with a random squad against a friend, especially because there would have to be no reward in that specific game, otherwise it could easily be abused. I understand reiterating, some people are a little bit slow, but when the hell will people get it through their thick skulls that player builds are here to stay? Customize your beard, customize your gear, and be happy because that's what you're getting. Here we got to look at the draft menu for draft champions. As we learned in the Game Informer article, there are themes to the draft, which is a nice change. Now, for this in particular, with these 4 options, who wouldn't go with Canada over, say, a Euro team or presumably a global or veteran-based team? I do like that they'll be adding in these special cards, though, as they do in FIFA as well. That's a nice touch. Quote, we haven't turned on. So is this EA admitting that there is indeed one? Here's an idea. Use the beta to test out more realistic physics. With proper programming, animations, and collision detection, it isn't a matter of, oh, your players and their limitations. Where's the realism when I can poke check a puck that's glitching into the bench? I mean, I get it. There's a balance between realism and fun, but when we've yet to have a truly physics-based game with proper collision detection, how can anyone say for sure that that version of the game wouldn't be well received or hated? We don't know. The return bonus is still in, so that's cool. Draft champions won't be tournament style. I'd honestly like more info on the mode in general. I know we'll get it as time goes on. How many games do you get with the team? There was something floated around as a change to the FUT draft in FIFA, and that was getting a guaranteed amount of games with the team and the rewards being based on how many wins you get. So say you play 4 games as if you were playing in a tournament, but if you lose in the first round, you still get to play with that team rather than having to restart and feeling like you wasted your time, your coins, or your money, your FIFA points, whatever. I'm still excited for the progression in EASHL. It's something more to work towards, but knowing that arenas will now be a factor and whether or not a team plays you is still somewhat concerning. EA doesn't have the best history with licenses, so this isn't exactly surprising. More play-by-play names are nice, although I'll never get my name in the game though, so I can't care too much. I do hope though that we can go back to an AI naming system like we had from previous years, rather than seeing the same computers named Alexi, Elliot, Mackenzie, although seeing those names was certainly better than seeing the Gurndeeps and Bunkas of old. Now this is probably the biggest takeaway from this batch of replies, and EA, honestly, bravo for this. Truly, you deserve all the credit in the world for this. Sure, will it suck if your goalie disconnects from the server and you lose because of it? Of course. But what happens more frequently? A goalie randomly dropping out from the server, or goalies quitting intentionally, and on top of that, potentially kicking team, killing, or AFK players in drop-in games is absolutely huge. And sure, I don't personally bother with drop-ins due to the lack of a proper lobby system, but EA, truly, bravo for this. Easily one of the most requested inclusions over the years, and you finally stepped up and put it in the game. Asked by YouTube's own Between the Pipes, and as he's already stated on his channel, goalie camera relative controls are out, which is going to be a massive change in general, and in my opinion, a change for the better. I cannot wait to get my hands on playing goalie in the beta. Surprise, surprise, EA even botches a question, but joking aside, if you want to call it that, I might have been serious. Obviously there won't be a demo. The beta has replaced that, and obviously just like last year, there was no carryover. Hell, I've never even heard of a beta having carryover, so I don't know why people would ask when just a little bit of research could result in you finding the answer much quicker than waiting 3+ weeks for an answer from this campaign. Again, as we learned in the Game Informer article, a proper soundtrack returns. That is awesome. Now, I did just slightly criticize EA for a lack of proper coaches in the licensing, but I do understand the issue. As Rammer basically stated, licensing can be a bitch. It's why we don't have realistic goalie masks for every goalie, more legends, classic teams, etc. That said, I'd much rather just have legends than full teams. Unless you personally rooted for that team, nobody cares about the fourth liners. So if you're gonna get anybody, just get the big names. For example, like I'd love to see the 2004 Boston Bruins in, not exactly a classic team, but just for example, no one wants a PJ Axelson card. They would rather have like a 94 overall Joe Thornton. Obviously, it's the same thing as last year, so obviously. This was actually a pleasant surprise and will help with the early coin struggles, so good news here. They're not going to show off their game before it launches. No, not a chance. All those new features? Nah, we're not going to highlight those. This is seriously one of the 31 questions you chose to answer, EA? Seriously? And to top that, here's the dumbest one that they chose to answer. I mean, hell, maybe Adam doesn't know how a beta works, but really, EA, come on, this was just a waste of a response. Now, this is pretty much the same information we learned from the Game Informer article, and I just can't help but wonder what exactly a unique player entails. Is it a team of the week, a special reward that you can only get from draft champions? I need to know. Now, first off, I definitely disagree. At least from my experience, if it isn't the biggest hit of all time, you don't even get contact, let alone knock the player off the puck completely. Most of the time, of course, they pick it right back up. But of course, I'm talking about online play, which isn't even mentioned in the response. All that's brought up is the sliders that can only affect offline play, because of course the sliders that affect online play is decided by EA, and those are the sliders I am concerned about. Perhaps the other biggest piece of news, one pause. Now I get it, a phone call, someone's at the door, etc. Stuff like that can happen. But to me, if you don't have 20 minutes, don't play. If something like that happens, clearly it's more important than playing a video game, so just leave the game and take the loss. Who the hell cares? EA, well done for this. Not surprising, but Mr. 50&07 does bring up a great point. There really should be more different power play setups in NHL 18 at the latest. Get on that, EA. A good change, but I can't give EA credit. There was no excuse for any of the unique atmospheres to be exclusive to playoff mode to begin with. As we've learned from the Game Informer article, there hasn't been an attempt to overhaul the rosters and the overalls. So, of course, the overalls, for me, I couldn't care less. They're not going to change. Who you think would have a great overall in the game is going to. This we already knew. Hell, it's nearly impossible to not know if you've looked up anything about NHL 17, so a true waste of a response. I'm with Jeff on this one. We've all had a clear breakaway opportunity only for an AI to cover all three lines and make a play on the puck. I'll certainly be intrigued to see how the beta plays in this regard, and I'll be keeping a very close eye on it. No price ranges, that's fine, but the term functionality bothers me, as I don't know if EA truly knows what that means, especially when it comes to the way Ultimate Team is structured. And finally, I'm sorry, but the rock, paper, scissors system does not exist. It simply doesn't. I don't put 1 ounce of faith in it, and I win 2/3 of my draws at the very least. It's all about timing. So overall, some fantastic news, a lot of repeat information, and I'm sorry, but some truly stupid questions with equally stupid answers, but what else would you expect from EA? But enough from me. In regards to the most recent batch of answers, I want to know from you what stood out from these responses, positives, negatives, and are you still as excited for NHL 17 as you were before these? Let me know, and as always, guys, if you have enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already for more NHL 17 coverage, and I'll see you guys next time.